Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing marvelously well. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about some Eventide plugins. In true form, or in recent form, I should say, we've brought in some other people as well as myself to try out these plugins. So you're going to get 4 completely different perspectives, trying out different plugins. And those people are Emily Bowie, who is an Academy member, who is also an incredible educator. That's Emily Bowie. There is the wonderful Mr. Adam Steele of Hop Pole Studios. I'm sure you know him as a Reaper power user, if that's such a thing. An amazing guy. And last but definitely no means least, my very good friend, Mr. Matt Lange, who is an incredible, kind of everything. He's a shredding guitar player. He's a remixer. He's an EDM producer, if that's a thing. EDM. I know. Growing up with dance music, it's weird to call it EDM. But anyway, so 4 different perspectives. And what's so lovely is Eventide have given us a couple of copies of this anthology series to give away. So stick around and don't forget to enter to win one of 2 copies of the anthology series. So the reason why we thought we'd try this out is because the anthology bundle, I'm looking here over at the blurb, is 33 plugins in one. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, because I tried the split EQ out, as did all of the people here and many of you. Everybody seems to love that plugin. And there's a thing about Eventide which cannot be ignored. Eventide are one of the first truly digital companies. When I was working with Jack Douglas on a bunch of records, he told me in the early mid-70s when he was working in New York, they would come around and bring prototypes of gear to use. So he was using like the H910, which is an incredibly famous machine before anybody else was. The flanger, just some of these incredible plugins. And their sounds are iconic. The H3000, which I have one over there, and the H9000, which I have one over there, are 2 of the best multi-effects units ever. And probably, inarguably, the H3000 is the most famous multi-effects unit. For the longest time, and probably even to this day, you couldn't go to a studio without seeing an H3000 because it did everything. It had reverbs, it had delays, it had all kinds of modulation, and much, much more. So I want to cherry pick a couple of plugins to try, and everybody else has picked some of their favorites as well. And I'll show you how I use them. And you can make up your own mind. But don't forget, you can win one of 2 copies of the anthology series. According to their blurb, it's 33 plugins, and individually it would cost $4,200. So they're doing this bundle at, what price is it, Eric?
$7.99.
$7.99. So if you do decide to buy in the bundle, you can buy and own it forever for $800. And that's every single plugin they make. It says 3 unique reverbs, 3 distinct modulation effects, 2 classic pictures, and a killer distortion and a next generation EQ. So that's 10 extra plugins that have been added since the last time they did this. The split EQ, the Physion, the SP 2016 Reverb, which is amazing, and then some of their incredible plugins like the Black Hole, the Mangled Verb, the Shimmer Verb, which you've seen me do before, Spring, Crystals, Micro Pitch, which has just got more schnizzle than ever going to need. The Crush Station, which is just ridiculous for distortion. The Tricera Chorus, which is amazing. Ultra Tap, Rotary, Undulator, H910 Harmonizer, which I'm going to try out. Just loads of stuff. 949, the 949 Harmonizer, the Omnipressor. Oh, it's such a good piece of hardware. So let's do this. Let's do the 910. So they've got a mono one and a dual one, and they've got the Omnipressor, but they've got the phaser, the instant phaser and the instant flanger, both of which are amazing. T-Verb, H3000 band delays, H3000 factory. I could spend hours on this. Quadravox. I mean, each one of these is a super powerful multi-effects unit. And they're not just individual reverbs that are charging a lot of money for. Each one of these have tons and tons of different possibilities, sonic possibilities. So let's get started. So we'll listen to some tracks we've got up here. Completely unmixed. No compression, no key, nada. So flat as a pancake. And of course, as ever, you can download these multi-tracks down below so you can mix along and do whatever you like. So let's have a quick listen to the drums. brought up the hi-hat bit. Okay, so I'm just going to do some naive stuff. That's drums, no EQ, no compression, nothing done to it. So I've got the one drum bus going here, but I doubled it up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put an omnipressor on it. I remember going into a studio in Indiana, maybe 2001, going into the studio, and they had an omnipressor. And I was like, what is that? And the owner of the studio was like, you have to try this. And I've never been disappointed. This is one of my favorite plugins ever. So many of my mentors in America are New York guys. So I get to hear about Eventide all the time. Okay, the thing about the omnipressor is you can do compression or expansion. So you can just use this to do all kinds of insanity. Bypass it. So it's like the opposite with the expander on. I've got rid of all. So it's just all attack. It's insane. I'm playing with the release time. So now I'm bringing some of that ambience back in with it. So blend that with the live drums. It's dramatic. Bring it in. It's ridiculous. Off. I mean, it's louder, don't get me wrong. It's louder, but if I bring both of those down, you can hear what it's doing. It's only putting in the transients. Take it out. All right. Now, just for snitch and schniggles, I'm going to have a second omnipressor going. So on another drum bus. And I'm going to do the opposite. Yes! Now it's exaggerated. Put two together. Okay, that's what I've got now. Here's the original drum sound. Now it's the two together. Again, bring the volume down so we don't have 5-hour discussions. It's the volume's the only difference. Bring in the real drums, the uncompressed, unexpanded. Take those two out. I'll turn it up so you don't get a full sense of security. Not a bad drum sound on its own. But put in our other two elements. Energy is amazing. The omnipressor is awesome. If you don't want to get the bundle and you just want to buy a plugin, buy the omnipressor. I mean, how good is that? I didn't even get into using any of the limiting or anything, but you can see how dumb and exciting it is. And I just had so much fun with it when I first played with the hardware. And I remember getting a phone call from Eventide a few years ago, and they're saying, oh, do you want to try out some of our plugins? And I was like, do you have an omnipressor? And they were just about to release it. And they're like, actually, in this new edition, I don't remember how many years ago, 3 or 4, 5 years ago. And I was like, yes, such a good plugin. Okay, so we play with the omnipressor. Let's go to the H9000. Now, some of you will remember that the H9000 kind of had this setting where if it was flickering, and I don't know, I actually can't remember whether it does that, but it was the flickering setting that got this little detune. And it was amazing on vocals. I have no vocal effects going at the moment. So let's have a listen to vocal.
It doesn't take as long as I thought it would.
Okay, there's the vocal.
It doesn't take as long as I thought it would.
Okay. Zero reverb, zero compression, zero EQ. That's just as dry as it gets vocal. So I press the AF button for the answer.
It doesn't take as long
There it is.
as I thought it would. She was off like a prom dress, no regrets. Doing things I'd never get.
Bring the mix down.
An angel from the Father, but now she's Satan's daughter. Sin in heaven, I won, I believe.
I brought the mix down to 20%.
You should too. It doesn't take as long as I thought it would. She was off like a prom dress, no
Bypass.
regrets. Doing things I'd never get. Seems like it.
You know what this would be amazing on? This would be amazing on the guitar solo. Nothing going on yet. I'm affecting just one side. Sorry, width is maximum. Mix is maximum. Okay, so now I completely screwed it up. Make the back mix down. Before. After. It's like instant, insane Brian May 70s guitar sound. It's just freaking awesome. Bypass. In. Come on, people. How cool is that? In the track. Gonna bypass it. Average. Interesting. Amazing. Frickin' amazing.
She was off like.
One more time.
She was off like.
I mean, it's so cool. It's such a cool. Many people that we've interviewed, and I go in and see like hardware stuff, that a 910 comes up a lot. Talk about 70s, but twisted and weird. And think about using it on really static sources or perfectly recorded virtual instruments that need a bit of wrongness to them. Okay, last but no means least, what can we try out? The Visconti Bowie-inspired triple reverb. Well, you know, that's probably the Hansa vocal sound, isn't it? And, you know, you're not going to get a bigger fan of Hansa Studios than myself. As you know, we went there in 2019, just before the pandemic, and filmed an episode there and recorded there and taught a masterclass there. I'm a huge fan of Hansa. They'd mic Bowie close up, and then they'd have one back a little bit further, then another one back further, and it'd all be gated from the lead vocal.
But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high.
So 3 mics.
But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pre-fade on the send to it, and I'm going to mute the vocals, so we're only going to listen to the reverb. So here's the first one.
But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes.
Turn it on.
Hit me begging for mercy, and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time. But none like tonight, and she blew my mind. She took me high, brought tears to my eyes, hit me begging for mercy and more in no time.
So it seems like mic 1 is the close mic, mic 2 is one that's a bit further away, and mic 3 is the one that's really, really far away. So you could put this directly onto the vocal itself. I've got it on a bus. So even though I've got it on pre-fade, and I can mute it and just use this one control, I'm hitting it hard, but it sounds freaking awesome.
But none like tonight, and she blew my mind.
This main guitar on the left, I want to put a phaser on it or a flanger. I'm just having too much fun. We'll get on to the other guys and girls in a second, but I'm having too much fun. Let's do a couple of things. Let's take the doubled right-hand guitar and do something weird on that. Insta flanger on the right-hand channel. Yeah, baby!
It's been too long.
It's so good. You know what I'm going to do on the left-hand one? I'm going to put a phaser on it. Yeah! Okay, I said I wasn't going to do more than a couple of plugins. I was going to let the other guys and girls do some, but too much fun. Let's put the ultra reverb on there. So many plugins. E channel, ultra channel. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. We're just going to put the ultra verb on there. That's far too long and totally wrong. Love it. Okay, I'm being a little mischievous, but what a wonderful collection of plugins. Omnipressor, H910. I mean, those two are just legendary pieces of hardware for obvious reasons. H3000, got loads of selections from that. That T-Verb was really cool for that full-blown Bowie at Hansa Studios trick. So good. All right, I'm going to stop waffling on. You can see it's pretty darn cool. Don't forget, you can enter to win one of 2 copies of the full bundle. And now we're going to go over to Emily Bowie and see what she is going to do.
Hey y'all, Emily here from fairairmusic.com. Today I've got something really special to share with you. I've partnered up with Eventide and produced like a pro to let you know about Eventide's new Anthology XII plugin bundle and how you can sign up to win it. All you have to do is hit the link in the description below so that you can sign up to win this amazing bundle of plugins. I think there's like 33 plugins in this entire bundle. Plugins that allow you to produce, mix, create sonic sound design, and really find those missing elements to bring your musical vision to life. This Eventide Anthology XII plugin bundle is for anyone making music. And I want to share with you a couple of ways that I've been using them. Now, the first thing that kind of blew my mind with this bundle was the black hole reverb. Now, the black hole, I immediately threw that on these electric guitars, and wow, I really was impressed with this. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like with and without the black hole reverb here. That worked perfectly. It was just the missing piece to that whole guitar part. It really fills out all that space that we needed it to. It makes it shine a little bit better and really bring out the emotion of that guitar part. Another really cool thing that I needed for this song was to add a little bit of harmony to the vocal, and added a couple of these harmonizers and just, went through and see what kind of worked best.
Still, you will lead this chase, and I'll try my best not to be led astray. All the signs we passed right out of the gates in this hourglass that contains our fate, and we're not who we think. Don't take it for granted. Not who we think.
So that's something that you can have a lot of fun with, and you can automate that in and out. And I just like to put that on a duplicate track, and just add it in places that I think that it is really needed, especially when he's talking about we and anything that's plural. And then otherwise, I'll probably just have it pretty low down and then automate that up and down as the song needs it. So that's kind of some things that I like to do when I'm mixing a song, something that I get that's already been recorded. Now, another thing that I was super impressed with this bundle, and that is that you have so many options, so many tools to create your own sonics and to sound design. Just get real creative with it. So I've got a track here that I've just got some MIDI drums on, and just wanted to show you what you could do instead of having something very simple like this. So that adds something really cool, really different. And then let's make it a little bit more interesting with a phaser. That's super cool. That's different. But you're using, what I really like about this in creating these songs and sound design is that we can use these classic plugins. We're creating something new from something old. That's one of my favorite things to do, is create nostalgia and a new interest all at the same time. And you can always change this up. Throw on your easy keys, or any, if you're in Luna, throw on shape, like any of your MIDI sounds. The possibilities are endless. And I guess one of the other things that I've got to talk about with the Eventide Anthology XII bundle is the split EQ here. So what I think is really cool with this, I'm going to put this on some strings because I think that's where it can shine really well, is I know we've got some cool EQ things going on here with adjusting your transient and your tone separately and all of that. It's great stuff. But what I think is also really cool is this pan option here. And so we can pan the transient and pan the tonal characteristics of that. And here's what you get. So there's the lower end, that the tone of those really low sounds. It's a little bit spread out. So what if we tighten that? Gives us that real centered rumble, that lowness. I love that. Here's without. It's kind of flat, right? The width. So you can get some really cool things, get that really low rumble that's almost vibrating in the back of your throat there. Lots of cool plugins included in the Anthology XII bundle. You could mix, produce, create for days, months, years. So don't forget to hit the link in the description so that you can sign up for the giveaway of the Anthology XII thanks to Eventide and Produce Like a Pro. Go ahead, fill that out, sign up, and good luck.
Hope you enjoyed Emily Bowie. Now we have Adam Steele from Hop Pole Studios. But don't forget to stick around because Matt Lange will be up after Adam.
Hi everybody, Adam Steele from Hop Pole Studios here, and I'm going to be playing with the H3000, which to me was, especially at the time it was made, the ultimate pinnacle of digital technology in a rack format. It can do anything pretty much. You've just got to be crazy enough to dream things up, and there were 1,000 presets on these things, and you could go in and absolutely deep dive. So I'm going to just play around and show you some of the things that this thing was capable of, because it was definitely not a one-trick pony. It was an everything. Like as a really good example, this is a dry, funky track that I made with some of the GGD drums for some fun. So let's look at the bass. Bass sounds like a funky bass. I'm going to turn on this H3000 now, and in the bass category, I mean, we've got all this stuff we can go with. The first thing is the micro pitch shift. This works really well in rock, where you can have this, it's not a chorus effect, it's kind of a widener, and this will sit it in a huge mix. Sounds a bit mad, and a lot of, the conventional wisdom now is, bass goes right down the middle, but not always. If you want to play with it, that's a great thing you can do. But one of the things that the H3000 is really good with is pitch shifting. So this is mean octaves. Check this out. So that sounds huge with a super growly low octave, and in the mix. To sound a little bit like a Seinfeld kind of synth bass, but that's a real bass that was actually played by me. You can do crazy pitch shifting with these units as well. Steve Vai famously used these with pitch shifting on his Passion and Warfare album, and did kind of diatonic pitch shifting where it would detect where it was in the key and would add something like a major third or a minor third, depending harmonically what's relevant. That was something that was very rarely done up until that point. Here's another thing that I've found that I can play with. This drum kit is the Dry and Funky, which is great. But it's one of those one-kit wonders. Let's say I want more low-end. There is a setting on here ready-made for drums and percussion called Barry's Kick Drum Helper. And listen to the low end on this kick suddenly come in. You can hear that the snare is triggering that as well, that boom boom, because this isn't meant to go on a stereo track. This is meant to go just on a kick drum specifically. But this is the kind of thing that the H3000 was really good at. If you had multi-tracks on a tape machine in the 90s and maybe even 2000s. I mean, one of the other settings here was snares. As in, like, let's say you've recorded a drum kit and either didn't have a chance to have an under snare mic, or in the mix it turns out that it's been mixed down and there's not enough there. This could recreate under snares. So it could add realism, even if you've got, say, things like synthetic toms that have been recorded that don't sound real because the snare's not rattling. You can add this in with a virtual snare rattle that will suddenly make it all feel that much more real and cohesive. And then you can get onto some real crazy stuff on things like the guitars, where you can have delays, you can have pitch shifters, you can have all sorts of mad stuff going on. Ooh, suddenly yeah, you can go absolutely all the way with weirdness, but there's also, this can do classic 90s flanges, choruses, all the kind of stuff that you wouldn't really think about using on a guitar until you try it and you go, oh, actually, this is weird, I like it. Delays, that kind of thing where a usual delay plugin would not by default do that kind of thing. You can really push it to its limits, and you can really get funky with the H3000. You don't have to really know how to program some of the expert level stuff, but if you want to dig around, it's all there. So have fun.
I hope you enjoyed, Adam. Now we have Matt Lange. Last but definitely no means least, Mr. Matt Lange.
Hey folks, Matt Lange here. I love the Eventide plugins. They've been some of my favorite forever, and the new Anthology bundle gives you access to literally all of them. And they truly are a gigantic part of my workflow. So I'm going to show you how to take a very boring sound, like this little thing, I mean, that sounds like it could be general MIDI. It's awful. But using the Anthology plugins, I get this. So let's talk about what I did and how I created that. So first thing, we have this pad that kind of floats on top. It actually comes from a piano, as you heard in the original. So if we bypass all the Eventide plugins, it just sounds like this. It's a piano sound. That's nice. The first thing I did, I added split EQ, but I'm not doing any EQing. What I'm doing with split EQ, I'm separating the transient from the tonal properties, and I'm just soloing the tonal. So now when we play it, you can hear that the attack's been cut off. It starts to sound like a pad. And I played with the settings down here with like decay and separation just because I wanted as long of an attack I could basically get. Decay I found was the thing that really gave me the most control over that. And then separation I did 100% because I want basically just as much of just only tonal. I don't want to hear any transient at all. So that's what split EQ is doing. Makes a pad. But then the next thing is the black hole. And black hole, I mean, I've said this 100 times. I mean, black hole is actually my favorite reverb ever. And I have it around the studio in like 5 different variations from hardware to software. It's just my personal love affair. But once you put black hole on it, you're in heaven. Like I could die now, go to heaven, go through the pearly gates, and it's because of black hole. So there is a good thing to the void. But that being said, I'm just using the regular H8000 preset in black hole. There are a bunch, and oh look, there are a bunch for me too, if you actually want to use some of mine. But my starting point usually actually is the H8000 black hole setting. And I just pull it up, hit play, sounds great. So that's that. And then the last thing is I'm using the H3000 band delays. And I love this plugin because it gives you a really nice texture. What I'm doing with it though, this is going to kind of give a very like a subtle sweeping to that pad sound. So now with the bandpass delays engaged, you can see that there are 2 bands right here. I guess F2, band 2, that's at 1.4K, and band 1 is at 950 hertz. And there's a little bit of modulation that I added in the function tab. I use a sine, just a sine LFO, that's the function, and it goes to my global frequency, and I'm going up and down 3% in either direction, and that creates the swell. So you can just hear the resonances shift a little bit. So it just gives some motion, keeps it interesting, sounds great. Now let's talk about the percussion, because before, percussion was really quite boring. Like there's literally nothing there, and it's just this. Like that, it's just boring. There's nothing there. I'm using a Get Good Drums library to do it, and not to knock the Get Good Drum stuff, this is my simplicity because the drums sound great, but I'm on purpose being as bland as I can. So now once I go to the affected version, the first thing I added is this pitch shifter. It's the H949, and it's a stereo pitch shifter. So I have the left channel pitched a little bit higher than I have the right channel. That's gonna give us some really like big stereo separation. As you can see, it's 0.656 here, and on the right, it's 0.649. And there is a little bit of variation. I guess that's just the modeling of the behavior of the actual original hardware itself, where there is a little bit of modulation. So once we add that together, it sounds like this. Whoopsie. And you can see it's mixed in. So if I went max, but I want some of it, some of the original signal. And then the next thing I added is the mangled verb. And mangled verb is essentially a distorting reverb. It's very fun. And what it sounds like once I've added that to my pitch shifted drums is this. That's the wet signal entirely. So the other thing that's important to note is I kept the size small because if the size is bigger, it's going to be more of an attack. And I wanted a pretty quick reverb because ultimately then this thing's going to get crushed later. If we had a longer reverb, bigger size, then the compression is going to make the whole thing really blown out. So I kept it small. The decay's at 55 because that's just what sounded right to me. But really why I needed to do that is because we're going into the omnipressor after this. And this thing is just an incredible compressor. I mean, I've been using this to destroy drums for a decade. And the way I'm using it here, I have my compression ratio at 6:1, but I'm clipping the output and there is this plus 20. There's a plus 10 also, but plus 20 sounded good to me. And without it sounds like this. With it, you can hear it brings out so much. And then of course the tails of the drums, those are really getting pulled out. So then I added a gate and I'm just gating it with the ultra channel. And this is nothing fancy. I just moved the gate to be where I want to basically cut the length. So now with the gate, it's this. And you can hear it's hiccuping a little bit. That's fine, I don't care. But it gets rid of those trails. And then the last thing I have on this is the Octavox, which is not designed for drums at all, but it's super fun. So basically what you're gonna hear, it's a multi-tap delay and there's pitch shifting. And as you can see here, it's just fourths and fifths and unisons and it's panned all over the place. And it sounds awesome once you add it onto this drum pattern. Totally wet. What's this? So super fun. And then the last element is what I called, what did I call it? Heavy drama. Before the plugins, it just sounded like this. I was playing a little bit lower before. So just a basic synth. It's just 2 detuned sawtooth waves with a filter envelope. Simple. So the first thing I added was the Tricera chorus, and I'm not actually using the chorus function, I'm using the detune function, and I'm just detuning the left and right channel by 13 cents on either side. Just makes it nice and wide and more stereo, or just, nice and wide harmonically or frequency-wise as well as spatially. Nice and 80s, right? Love it. And the next thing I added is the shimmer verb. And this is really, I think, this is what makes this patch special. Because there's pitch shifting on the tail. So how I've set this up, once again, it's also short size and short decay. And I'm really using the feedback, actually, of shimmer verb on the delays to really actually carry my tail out. My delay is 50 milliseconds, which is as short as it could possibly be. And basically, I am on the left, I'm pitch shifting down by minus 16 cents, and on the right, minus 30. But with the feedback, every time there's a new iteration, it's going to be another 16 and another 30 either way. So that's what's going to create this ultimately like a it's like a Doppler effect kind of thing. Sounds awesome. If I take the feedback down, just so you can hear what that sounds like, it's quick. So the feedback is really what gives it that motion. And it was around there. And then lastly, I'm using Crush Station just to really blow it out. That doesn't sound like it would be, that sounds like it would fit in a Hans Zimmer score or something like that. That is a Dark Knight kind of sound. And it's killer, or movie trailers, or whatever. And what's going on here is there's a bit of drive, and I moved the sustain so it's post distortion, and then I added a little bit of lower octave into it. And that's on the octave thing. I have down by 4. So without the octave, with the octave, gives you that lower sub-octave. It makes it that much more powerful. And the grit I just left as it was when I opened it up. And that's basically it. So all those elements combined, it's very easy to take your very boring, practically general MIDI loop, like, we're in 2002. We can do a lot better than that these days. So now, so you should check out the Eventide Anthology bundle. It is honest, it's a wealth of inspiration. I actually do use it every day. I love it. That's my endorsement. Go check it out.
So I really hope you enjoyed all of those demos, watching other people with different perspectives, different DAWs, trying out different ideas. I actually haven't watched anybody else's, so I don't know if they were doing things that I was doing. Probably not. And we all have different ways of using plugins. So hopefully you'll get a really good balanced view of what these plugins are about. So don't forget, you can win one of 2 copies. It's $800 for the bundle, or $799. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to win them. And they are heavily discounted at the moment. Normally, all these plugins are $4,200. So if you want to get all of them and own them properly for good, it's $799. So you want to own the whole lot. I know it's a lot of money, but it's a lot of plugins. So good discount, great sounding plugins, great's an understatement. I'm a huge fan. Thank you ever so much, Eventide, for letting us try this out. So long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, ciao, tschüss, dos vidania, tut ziens, adios, adio, goodbye.